Better lighting here.
Hi, I'm Gary Fowler. It is great to be here, and thank you for joining us for another edition of the Founders Report. My name is Gary Fowler, and I am the CEO, president, and co-founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Silicon Valley. I've done 17 companies and been involved in 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team at Click Software, sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Yva.ai, an AI tech company. Today, I'm interested in AI, quantum computing, cybersecurity, everything that makes this world a better place across multiple vertical markets. So it's with great ado that I introduce my special guest, Niklas Holck. Nick is his founder and CEO at TradeWorks. Originally from Denmark, lives in Singapore, and today's from Valencia. And so that's great to have you here, Nick. So tell us a little bit about, so how did you make your journey? How did you go from Denmark to Singapore? How does that work?
Well, I was born in Korea to start with.
Are you Korean?
Well, I could have been, but no, my parents decided to give me a Danish passport. Both my parents are Danish. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was born in Korea. We moved to Australia, Singapore, back to Korea. Then I went to Denmark, lived for the first time when I was 15, I think. And I've been trying to move around as much as I can ever since.
So what do you find special about Singapore? What do you like about it?
Well, I'd like to talk about Singapore before COVID, mm-hmm. which was an amazing place. And actually, my entire adult life, I've been trying to get back because I just loved it so much as a kid. And I spent 7 years there, the last 7 years so far. And the great thing about Singapore is, you can meet anybody from anywhere. The food is amazing. The taxes are low. Okay, the prices are high, but something's got to give.
How can the prices be high when you're so close to China?
Well, everything is imported. Everything. Food prices are crazy unless you go to the hawker center. Restaurant prices are okay. But Western prices for sure. And if you want to buy a car, you may not want to live in Singapore.
Why is that?
You pay for 3. You buy one.
Really?
Buy one for 3.
Buy one and you pay for 3. So let's take an average kind of I don't know, what's an average car? A Ford Focus? I don't know what's the equivalent in Singapore. What are you talking about in dollars?
I would guess a Toyota.
Toyota Camry. How much is it in Singapore in dollars?
I don't know what a Camry costs in the U.S. either.
The Camry's about $35,000 in the U.S.
Okay, well then triple it, and you've probably got your price.
Wow, how do people do that? Do they go into the bank and say, "Listen, I need a small home loan," or what? How does it work?
Yeah, I mean, cars are financed, but I guess that's pretty normal around the world. Yeah, I had a car. I didn't really need one. I just, came with a bit of a Western mindset. I must have a car. If I came back, would I buy a car again? Maybe not.
No. Interesting. And so is the public transportation system good there?
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Wow.
It's amazing. And
then so why'd you leave?
Well, I haven't left. I'm just on holiday. I just needed to get out, and they've got these quarantines still going on. Last time I left Singapore was basically a year ago. So just, sitting on a little island ever since, and I just had to get shit done. And I couldn't do that there at the time. So I like to meet the companies I invest in.
So the quarantine, do you still have to spend 2 weeks in a facility before you go back into the country? I know I had a friend of mine that came out and said she was going crazy. Actually, couldn't see her kids or anything for 2 weeks. It's still the same? Yeah.
Yeah, I was in quarantine with my kids.
Oh man, how was that?
Well, the first 3 nights we were in a small business room with 2 beds, and there were 4 of us. Oh, sorry, there was 2 beds, a large bed and a small bed, and that was interesting. But luckily, we got an upgrade. So that the last 11 nights were tolerable, but we just promised each other never again. So,
And then how did it work? How do you get food? Do they have like a special COVID delivery system, or how does that work?
yeah, you get food from these central kitchens. It's a bit hit and miss, and luckily Singapore is very dense, so there's Deliveroo and Grab Food and Food Panda, all these guys.
Wow, that is amazing.
Whatever we wanted, we got.
And then, so how long have you been in Singapore? How long were you there?
So as a kid, I was there for 7 years, and then this time around, also 7 years. And I'd like to stay, but of course, if they decide to keep the island shut for forever, I guess we won't stay.
Forever?
It's been a year and a half.
Yeah, no, I understand. So, okay, so why not Denmark? I mean, did you not so you're from Denmark originally, correct?
Yeah.
So why not Denmark? I mean, I love the place. They say it's one of the friendliest cities in the world, safe. Why not Denmark?
Well, nothing is safer than Singapore, first of all. I like warm weather. And when you work in investments in venture capital gains tax is important. And in Denmark, it's at 42%.
Wow.
In Singapore, 0.
That's 0%?
It's 0.
Interesting. Huh.
And in Denmark, they want to raise it to 45. So, maybe next time.
No, it sounds like the U.S. The U.S. is on the same trajectory. It's kind of crazy. So tell me a little bit about, you started out with McKinsey, right, and company, and you've done a lot of work. You were with Maersk for what, 9 years, something like that?
I started out with Procter & Gamble.
Okay, because I looked at your
I was with Procter & Gamble for 11 months, and then I moved over to Maersk, like any good Dane did back in those days.
I see. And then you start out with a research company, Saunders, as a research associate in the U.S., maybe an internship or something, right?
Yeah, that was an internship while I was studying in D.C.
Got it. Okay, so what Maersk? I mean, that's a amazing company. So you went right up through you were strategic sourcing to assistant general manager. What made you decide? I mean, it sounds like it's interesting. What made you decide to leave?
Oh, I mean, Maersk was my dream company, and every job I got was more interesting than the previous one, and in the end, I was in charge of the portfolio of 600 ships, the world's biggest portfolio of container ships. And, I'd been there for almost 9 years at the time. So, you reach a point where you get an opportunity outside and, you take it. So, and that opportunity was to move to Singapore, where, as I said, I'd been trying to get back to for a long time.
So what happened? So you land in Singapore, and what did you start to do right away? Did you go to Antler, or Nordic Eye Ventures? How did you get started?
So the first I invested in a friend of mine's company called Brickvest, which did property investments, and I did really well on the investments, not so well on investing in the company itself. I just started. What was my next thing? The next thing was Nordic Eye, which was my first sort of major VC fund investment, and they paid all my money back after 7 months. So I kind of quadrupled down on that, and then I found Antler, and I became chairman of Nordic Eye. when was that? That was like a year and a half, no, almost 2 years ago. And when I was, we decided to work on a fund two. Fund one was going really well. We decided to work on a fund two, and I started working on deal flow. And I started finding these really cool log tech companies. And at that point, I had left my shipping job in Singapore, and I was focusing on just doing investments and working for Nordic Eye. And I kind of realized, log tech shipping is what I understand. And that was both a positive and negative feeling. I thought I was kind of done with shipping, and I would move on to sort of a broader view of things. But I just realized it was when I saw a company like Freightify or Quinkis, I would immediately understand what it was and how amazing they were. So I thought, okay, maybe this is something I should bet on. The timing, and I understood the timing was perfect.
No, that's great. And so you did investments. Are you still with Nordic Eye Ventures?
No.
Okay.
No, I stopped as chairman just around a year ago.
Got it. Okay. And then so you've gone on. So tell us a little bit about where you are now with TradeWorks VC and some of the things you're interested in. I know you talk about building an ecosystem of digital trade enablers. So tell us a little bit, and during this pandemic, we've had a lot of problems with not having transparency in the supply chain, right? And all kinds of issues.
Yeah. I mean, the pandemic was, speaking selfishly, a bit of a godsend for a logistics investor, and the ever given just keeps on giving. It really shone the spotlight on what's, I kind of, it's a necessary evil. Transportation is a necessary evil. And when transportation finally gets in the papers, it's because something's getting screwed up. But what most people don't realize is that in logistics, things get screwed up all the time. The quality is terrible. The prices are intransparent, and there's so much work to be done. And the reason why logistics is so important, not just because it's over 10% of gross world product, but when countries fix their logistics systems, they become rich. Because if logistics is cheap in a country, it makes it much easier to trade. If you trade more, you innovate more. If you innovate more, you trade more. And it's a virtuous, mutually reinforcing cycle. And the best place we can see that, or we've seen that unfold in the last 40 years, is in China. Look at their GDP in 1980. I forget the number. It was, in the double-digit billions, and now it's, trillion-dollar economy. And why did that happen? Because it got cheaper to trade.
Mm-hmm.
And I read a book once saying that the reason why Homo sapiens beat out the Neanderthals, it's not because their brains were bigger. The Neanderthals had bigger brains, but Homo sapiens traded with each other.
Got it. I mean, it's important. So, where do you see like emerging areas, like countries that are really focused on increasing trade that we should be looking at?
Yeah. So Vietnam is definitely a hotspot now. But what I look at is global technology companies within the logistics space. So I don't invest in logistics companies. I invest in technology companies that provide software, for example, to logistics companies.
Got it.
So take Quinkis, for example. They provide the software that enables shipping companies and trucking companies and delivery companies and express delivery companies to optimize their networks, figure out where all their parcels and where all their assets are and where they're going, and the warehouses, and optimizes everything, starting with having the granular data. And it's just amazing what these guys are doing. It wouldn't have been possible even 5 years ago. And what we're seeing today is that technology has been democratized to such an extent that startups can go in and they can build systems quicker and better than all these big incumbent logistics companies. So we're seeing a shift, a real big shift from every major company building their own tech. Now they're going out into the market and to a large extent buying it off, let's just say, scale-ups.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's a way to go faster. So tell us, so in terms of TradeWorks, so you're looking at late seed to Series A companies, right?
Yeah.
With midterm hands-on capital. Are you taking active roles in those companies, or what are you doing?
It differs. I'm on the board of Freightify. I'll be joining the advisory board of Quincus, and that's kind of, those are the two I'm sort of more actively involved in. We're about to close an investment in Shipscart, where I'll also become an advisor. I figure I have space to do up to 10 of these companies myself before I need to start growing the team.
How big is your team? Well, that's it. Interesting.
One-man band.
That's interesting. Yeah, very interesting. So what are your goals? Where do you want to be in terms of are you going to create a fund? And how big is the fund going to be?
Yeah, so right now we've got a syndication, sort of a club model going. And I'm thinking about starting a fund out of the US next year. And how big it'll be, who knows? I think we've just rounded 3 million for the current club, and bigger isn't always better, but slightly big would be okay.
No, I got it. Interesting. So what are the let's talk about the supply chain. I mean, it seems like you've got the catbird seat for that. What happened? I mean, during this pandemic, why are there so many problems? I mean, they still haven't been resolved. Is it because the production's not done, or is it because the ships are just not going to the right places or can't go to the right places?
Well, it's a bit of a perfect storm. Until about a year and a half ago, I was following the shipbuilding. So that was my job, buying and selling ships. And I could see that not enough ships were being built. And that point just coincided with when the pandemic kicked in. A lot of factories in China, for example, shut down. All that demand didn't just disappear. So when they open up again, you get this sort of catch-up effect. Everybody needs a container. Everybody needs to put those containers on a ship. And when all these ships and all these containers arrive at a port like LA Long Beach, you get congestion.
Well, that's amazing. So what happens then? Do they just stack up? Is that, you hear about these ships being stacked up for days or weeks? Is that true?
Yeah. The ships just lie there for weeks while the ship owners count their money. I'm really kind of happy for them, because since 2008 has been a bit of a nightmare for ship owners. So now they're finally getting their money back.
It's
so
interesting.
The ones who held, they're doing really well now.
Yeah, I remember Nick. I don't know if this still happens. Do they still do the with those freighter ships? They actually have extra space on board, and you can actually rent spaces on those ships so you can travel with them. Do they still do those kind of things?
Yeah, funny, I haven't done it myself. I really wish I had, but yeah, you can. I don't know if you can rent it, but you actually, I think some shipping lines do. They do have some kind of
My father was trying to convince me to go around the world with him on one of these freighter ships, And I was like, Dad, what are you talking about? Like, he said, no, it's really nice. You get a nice room and you go around with them on the ship. And he tried to convince me for years to do it. I never did it. I didn't have 2 months to take off to do it. But anyhow, I'm just curious about it. It would seem very interesting.
Yeah, I think some shipping lines do. And in the old days, a lot of the big ships, they had swimming pools. I don't think they have swimming pools anymore.
Seriously?
Yeah. These big plunge pools.
Unbelievable. Nicholas, how's life on a ship today?
It is what I'm hearing. It's pretty terrible because there are a lot of ports who are so scared of COVID that they don't allow crew changes. So, at the height of COVID, there were crews on ships for months and months and months on end. They just weren't allowed to get off, and it's a travesty. If these guys weren't doing their jobs every day, we wouldn't. You've got all this nice furniture in the background. It wouldn't be there. And it's really coming to light that the guys like you and me, we can sit at home and we can Zoom. There are billions of people out there. They can't just stay home and take care of business on Zoom. They're out there working for us.
I agree. So tell me a little bit about, you're working with Antler too. I hear Antler's name come up, although it's not as much as it used to. So what's going on with Antler? What does Antler do?
So I call it a startup generator. So it starts from getting people in, doing like a McKinsey kind of interview process, finding out, do these guys fit the criteria for becoming future founders? Some of them have ideas, some of them don't, and they just kind of throw everybody in a room and say, find an idea, find a team, and start working on it. And the best teams and ideas, they get some initial funding, and that's how they get started. And as I'm an advisor, also an investor, and as an investor, it's pretty impressive what they've been doing. So they're expanding all over the world. They just opened an office in Copenhagen, and they've got offices on every continent except Antarctica. So it's impressive, and it started. When did I get involved? 2 years ago. So yeah.
Yeah, I met a guy. Was it Andreas? He was working at a group out in California in Menlo Park, Andreas, and he came in. He's Norwegian. Anyhow, he came into the and we were talking a little bit, but interesting, super. So, in terms of the market, with the these late seed stage and Series A, how are they doing? I mean, are they growing now, or where can for the pandemic? Are they in super growth stage? Are they kind of stable, or what's happening with those companies today?
I mean, so in LogTech, which is where I focus, so we focus on digital trade enablers. So basically, if you build software for logistics companies, that's what I call a digital trade enabler. And it is, the timing simply couldn't have been better. It is exploding. It's like the next frontier for VC investing, and we're at the stage where most VCs still don't really know what it is, but the ones who do know what it is, they're going all in. And my first investment was back in March, and they just closed their next round at 5 times that valuation. It's pretty incredible.
That's great. Congratulations to you.
Thanks, but let's see how it ends.
Yeah, well, that's part of the story, right? Yeah, that's super. All right, so we're coming up to the top of the hour. So closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
Well, you can just find me on LinkedIn, Niklas Holck, or tradeworks.vc. We've got a slightly outdated website, which you're welcome to look at as well. And funny thing is, Gary, I learned a couple of weeks back that we're invested in the same company now, DistiChain.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's great to have us both on board.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it's our smallest investment. It's also our earliest investment, but yeah, something I couldn't resist.
Well, we have 14 companies in this cohort, and we have them from this time 14 companies from 20 countries. They're founders and co-founders from 20 countries. I mean, I'm really happy because, like yourself, I mean, we look around the world, scour the world, looking for companies that really have the capability to go global. And primarily, my background's artificial intelligence. I've written 163 articles in the last year and a half, something like that, on AI, quantum computing, et cetera. So we're really into it. And, Nick, it's really interesting because, we have a lot of challenges in front of us. And, talking about the logistics and the supply chain is obviously really important because we need to make sure we can feed ourselves. And we've, seen, as mundane it is, we couldn't even get toilet paper because of supply.
That's because everybody was hoarding.
Yeah, they were hoarding, but let me tell you, when you're out there buying it for $10 a roll, you got to do what you got to do, right? But we all got to work together to make this world a better place. I'm speaking at the United Nations on October 1st. My presentation is called "Technology is a Tool for Peace." My last presentation 4 weeks ago was AR and VR is a tool to combat violent extremism and terrorism. But I mean, we got to learn to work together. We get so many wonderful opportunities, and we have so many incredibly difficult challenges that we got to overcome, and we need to bind together. So startups out there, listen, this is a great opportunity for you. These logistics companies that are able to help our supply chain even out and to be able to distribute in a far better ways, really important. Look at unsupervised and semi-supervised AI to be able to help. And you will be able to have success. Over 20 years ago, I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion. We were, service chain optimization company. So coming straight from the heart, people kind of laughed then. But now the situation is we're serious about making a dent. We need to have the right food at the right place at the right time, all kinds of different tools and technologies and commodities. So get out there, get them. If you need somebody to look at early stage investment, everything from a late seed to Series A, give Nick a call. He can point you in the right direction. So check it out with him. And to each one of you, stay tuned. I'll be back in another 2 weeks with another edition of the Founders Report with me, Gary Fowler. I'm your host. It's great to be here. Stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay safe. Take care of yourself. See you later. Thanks, Nick. I really appreciated joining my show.
Thanks a lot, Gary. Pleasure.
Take care of yourself.